Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Davey Deathray here. Hope you guys are having an awesome week so far. It is Wednesday, June 18th. If you're kicking it on the East Coast, it is 4:07 p.m., 1:07 p.m. out here in the desert. And you know what? I wish it were only 107 degrees outside here in the desert. It's actually 1:14, so yeah, you guys are welcome that I'm wearing the blazer. This is a tough one. This is a tough one, but I'm doing it for you guys. Later on tonight, I don't know if I'll wear the blazer throughout the entire Jason Lives watch party. You can catch that at 9 p.m. Eastern. You guys voted on that. You guys reached that super chat goal. I know that, watch parties aren't for everyone. I totally get that, but I love Jason Lives so much. So not only did you guys reach the super chat goal for us to have a watch party, keeping the Friday the 13th dream alive, but you guys also voted on Jason Lives out of our options. So really looking forward to joining you guys there later on this evening. That's right. You are getting a double dose of Late Night with the Davey with Before Dark right now, and then a true Late Night with the Davey later on today. Gosh, can you tell I'm all jacked up and pumped for our guests today, guys? Maybe it's a couple cups of coffee too. I got really good sleep as well. I've been staying up till like 4 or 5 lately, and last night I didn't. So I actually got good sleep and I'm ready to go. More housekeeping before I move on and say what's up to everybody. On Friday, I will be on Backtrack Cinema with Jason. I believe that's 9 p.m. Eastern. We're going to review and discuss Jaws and Jaws 2. Because, guys, Friday is the 50th anniversary of Jaws. It's my favorite film of all time. I wouldn't be surprised if for a lot of people it's in their top 5 or top 10. There's just something about that movie. So really looking forward to, getting on that backtrack train and talking Jaws and Jaws 2 with Jason over there. And then I know that I owe you members something. So expect something big here sometime soon. I'll probably plan it for earlier on Friday so our folks over in the UK can join us as well. Hopefully we got some of you folks on the stream as of now. Let me go ahead and say what's up to everybody in the chat, and then we'll get going on the conversation here. We got Chester Franklin Jr. What's happening, Chester? Great to see ya. Lamontre Gillard, how you doing, Lamontre? Always a pleasure, man. We got Adrian James. What's up, Adrian? Ashton Luck in the house. Hey, howdy, hey, right back at you, Ashton. Hope you are doing well. We've got Shay Rance, one of our great channel members, and yeah, one of our UK folks. Guys, Shay's got a channel over there that he does in the UK, and he's a young buck, 16, 17 years old, something like that. So he is getting things going at the right time. Man, if I had just started the channel when I was in my mid-20s, when I fell in love with YouTube, maybe my life would be less sad than it is right now. But I'm happy that I'm doing it now and happy to have met all of you lovely people. We got Brett from Good Real Hunting, one of our great channel members and Death Squad mods. Hope you're doing well, Brett. Really enjoyed the live you put together during lunchtime today, sir. That was fun. Looking forward to that once a week. We got Gory Tiger. How you doing, Gory? Always a pleasure. Holy cow, Denise Wheat, folks. One of our Patreon members as well as YouTube channel member. Welcome on in, Denise. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, the lovely Jamie Hart. Not only a channel member, but the original Death Squad mod. Love having Jamie on the show. We've talked Evil Dead a couple times here. And guys, I'm putting something together with Jamie and with Destiny Faulkner because I'm watching Twin Peaks for the very first time with my brother. And we are going to be covering each individual season of Twin Peaks live here on the channel. And that should be pretty wild and pretty fun. They are obsessed with it, and I'm just getting into it, but it's really damn good. So can't wait to have a chat with those ladies about it all. Holy cow, we got Dean Renner, another one of our Patreon members and YouTube channel members. And guys, Dean's got a channel called Enter the Cinevault that's really fun. He is putting together something special for Jaws' 50th as well. So if you have not subscribed over to Enter the Cinevault, make sure you check out Dean's channel and throw him some love there. All right. Who else do we got? Gene Whitcomb. am always pumped when you go live, Davey. Thank you so much, Gene. Really appreciate you. Thank you for joining us. We got Curtis from the Twisted Locker. Holy cow, guys. Twisted Locker is so much fun. I love what Kurt and Jenks do over there. I was just catching them earlier today, just talking a bunch of shit. And yeah, these guys are great. My Welsh brothers from other mothers, as I like to call them. Lovely accents. A really good chemistry between those two guys because they have a Venn diagram of tastes. So some of them overlap. But Curtis, who's in the chat right now, is into a lot more of the sleazy kind of horror. And Jenks is a little stuff-shirted about his taste, I'll admit it. Love them both, though. We got the lovely Brooke Scarlett, one of our great channel members and Death Squad mods. How are you doing, Brooke? So good to see you. So good to see you. Always a pleasure, of course. And I think I'm not missing anybody else. Maybe I am. We got the Ribat. Used to be the Ribbit. Now it's just Ribat in the chat. How you doing, Ribat, in the chat? Good to see you. Eli Cortez, one of our great channel members, Death Squad mods, and sterling members and pillar of the horror YouTube community. Eli, I was looking to see if this... Let me see. Guys, if you missed my live from the other day when I was at my sister's house, Eli sent me this amazing box set graphic novel collection of Lucio Fulci's Zombie. This thing is incredible. I am going to dive into it and show you guys all of the goodies that are in there. Holy cow. Like, it's just, look at how beautiful this is. From Vinegar Syndrome and Ibon Press, I believe, something like that. So really fun stuff. Who else do we have in the chat? We got Leanna Bevy Rage, one of our great channel members and Death Squad mods. How you doing, Lily? I hope work is treating you well today. Thank you so much for joining us. Always a pleasure to see you. We got Gina, or as I like to call her, my chunky Geordie, which is my little 311 nod for all one of you 311 fans out there. Yeah, what can I say, guys? Grew up in the mid 90s were formidable for me, so you couldn't escape 311, especially in my tiny little hometown. All right, who else do we have? That might be it. We got Tyler Adams in the chat. What's happening, Tyler? Always great to see you. Yeah, guys, don't forget to slash that like button and sub to this amazing channel and consider becoming a member of the mighty Death Squad for some awesome perks. Thank you so much, Eli. Yeah, guys, if you're watching this after the fact as well, thank you so much. It really does a lot for the live streams because YouTube tends to just kind of kill these live streams once they're done. But if you're watching after the fact, yeah, make sure to like and drop on into the comments. Feel free to tell me how crazy I am for my wild opinions on, mainstream culture, co-opting talent or whatever you got. I love getting the conversation going with you guys down there. So hop on in and let us know. Yeah, Duncan, the cat from the live stream the other day, my sister got a new cat. Oh my God, that was amazing. Love hanging out with little animal friends. It's just, they just warm the heart. There's something about a cat's purr that it truly is healing. The science is out there, folks. It truly is healing. Okay, guys. Well, we came here with a purpose today. We have gathered here today. This is going to be fun because usually, on Late Night with the Davey, whether it's Before Dark or the standard show, we've got like a topic that's, I don't think like what we're going to talk about today is like very controversial, but usually the topics that we discuss here are a little more, I don't know, maybe a little more lighthearted, just kind of like talking about movies we love or talking about, works that people are creating and all that kind of stuff. But, the other day I did that news story on Robert Eggers had been announced to be directing A Christmas Carol. And, part of me was sort of like, I want the guy to just be able to do what he wants to do, of course. But then a part of me was like, man, is this guy just getting swallowed up by the big machine? So we're going to get more in depth with that here in a second because we've got a very special guest coming on, folks. We've got Evan from ROCKLIN Graves Productions. Wow. I think meteoric rise is a good phrase for what this guy has done on YouTube. And it's come with, very hard work. You can tell that the work is there in the videos that he does and just incredible insight. And this guy is probably somebody that should be making his own movies within the next couple years, I should hope. Because I believe he's only been on YouTube for, I don't know, 2.5 years. I'll get the dates all figured out once he hops in here. But guys, when he was on Late Night with the Davey, I believe it was like end of the summer or early fall last year. I think he was somewhere around like 35,000, 40,000 subs and cracked 100,000 before the end of the year, and is just keeping on rolling with these amazing long form video essays that are just, I mean, if you go in to one of his videos already loving this movie and feeling like you've got a good grip on what's going on, he's going to add a couple layers. It's like going to a college course and having somebody just give you that added insight and that added perspective. So I'm so pumped. He's blushing right now in the green room. So pumped to bring on Evan and get this chat going. So without any further hold up, guys, put your hands together and throw the hearts in the chat for Evan from ROCKLIN Graves Productions. How are you doing, man?
That was cruel of you to leave me in the green room so I couldn't stop you from talking. No, that's very kind of you. That's a very, very generous introduction. I really appreciate that. In terms of to kind of humble myself a little bit, it's been a lot longer than 2 years. This channel I started back in 2021, so this was 4 years. Okay. I've been making videos online for 13 years. It just took a long time to get something that picked up.
Gotcha. Okay.
So there are other channels floating around out there that from years and years ago.
Oh wow! Yeah. And you're still pretty dang young, right? What are you in your early 20s?
23. Yeah. I was 10 when I made my first YouTube video.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is remarkable, man. Yeah, it's been really, I don't know, it's really cool to see the success though, because sometimes people pop off and you're like, what the hell? Why? And then somebody like with you, it's like, oh no, yeah, I totally get it. These are like, I think of myself as such a movie nerd, and then but there's the whole nother layer of actually being able to articulate, you know, what you're seeing and what you're, you know, feeling from these movies, and you have a very impressive vocabulary as well. So
yeah, that's far too kind of you. Also, I meant to mention, I'm also going through Twin Peaks for the first time right now.
Oh, nice. How far are you?
I'm just at the start of season 2.
Yes, I'm like 6 episodes into season 2.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah,
I love it.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Oh, can I turn my mic up? Do I need to turn my mic up?
I turned it up a little bit, but yeah, feel free.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what it is.
I don't want to mess with it. So if you have a setting, I don't want to play with whatever you're doing.
Go ahead and do what you need to do, because it doesn't seem like StreamYard lets me affect it that much.
Okay, how's this? Is this better? I don't know if it actually makes, like, it's hard to know how much of a difference it's making.
I can hear you better. I'll turn down the background music too. Guys, let us know in the chat if you can hear Evan better. He's very soft-spoken, and then I'm like, boom!
Well, see, that's one thing I was thinking when I was listening. I'm like, man, like, I work with a teleprompter. Like, I can't record without one. And, like, I have a lot of respect for people who can just get off and, like, get on and have that, like, you know, presenter voice without any sort of guide. Like, I don't have that. Not at all.
It is interesting. There is, like, I've noticed that where it's, you know, there are people that are more comfortable doing pre-recorded, and then there are folks like me that are more comfortable going live, because I beat myself up over every little mistake when I do pre-recorded videos. And I'll do like a 7 or 8 minute movie review will take me like 45 minutes to shoot because I'm such a jerk.
Right. I'm getting told to turn it up more, so I don't know if that's
okay.
If that's any better.
If you could just swallow the mic, that would be great.
That I can definitely do that. Just let me know. If people say it, I'll just turn it up more, and then when they stop saying it, I'll stop.
Gina says it's still low, though.
Well, that was, I just turned it up again, though. So
okay.
I was about to sing a banger of a song. Well, thanks, Barry.
There you go.
What's going on, buddy?
Yeah, guys, this is I think we got all the mic stuff figured out, so I think we're ready to dive in. Wow, 30 people hanging out at this time of day. That is so awesome of you guys. Make sure to hit that like button. Also, if for some strange reason you're on this live stream and you're not subscribed to ROCKLIN Graves Productions, I did pin the link in the chat. It's also in the description below as well, so you can follow Evan on over there as well. But yeah, Evan, I really appreciate you being able to put this together, you know, kind of short notice here. It's no secret at all that you are a massive Robert Eggers fan.
Well,
and
it's actually kind of perfect timing because like I was glad I had something to come on this week because I don't have a video coming out this week because I am working on the longest video I've ever made, which is a Nosferatu deep dive.
Nice.
It's currently sitting at like an hour and a half long. Right?
Holy crap.
So like I had to just take an extra week to get it done.
Yeah.
So it was good timing to come on and chat some Robert Eggers. Okay, volume's better. Cool. I turned it up again.
Sweet. Yeah, and you can still get your Eggers on here. And this will be fun because just to kind of set the stage a little bit more, I know I kind of laid it out a little bit before we brought you on, but you know, of course I trust this guy's judgment. His career is amazing. Like he is so incredibly talented at what he does. And obviously he has some hand in picking the projects that he's doing because he's got passion for them himself. And then there's like the flip side of my brain that's like, but is he ever going to do something as wild as like The Witch or The Lighthouse again? Like, are we going to see that? Or and if we are, like, when is that going to happen? Or is it going to be something where he just becomes like a darling of Hollywood and starts making these movies that are still good, but just more mainstream and, you know, more run of the mill than what we were used to at the beginning of his career? And I think part of that is like the punk rock side of me. You know, I grew up falling in love with like skate punk. Once Green Day broke when I was in like 7th grade in 94, that was great. But then it seemed like any other time like a pop punk band or something started gaining notoriety, it was like they almost became less interesting as artists as a byproduct of that. So so I just wanted to get that conversation going with you, and I know that since you're a massive fan, you'll be able to talk me off the ledge here.
I hope
so how do you feel? How do you feel about, obviously, you know, you don't have to spill all the tea on Nosferatu. I know you're a big fan of that. With Robert Eggers going into something like Werewolf, which is going to be done by Universal. So I don't know if we have a handle on if that's going to be kind of like the Wolfman, the original, you know, Universal Wolfman sort of retelling, and then moving into something like...
It's actually not Universal. This is going with Focus Features, I believe. Same people he did Northman, Nosferatu, and now Werewolf with. So this isn't going to be something like a Wolfman remake or anything like that. And just in regards in what you were talking to, hoping to get something more akin to like The Witch, I would say specifically, I think Werewolf is going to be that. We know like this isn't something where he's making this in a way that's meant to be palatable for a broad audience. Like there are certain creative decisions that we know about with Werewolf already that show that the dude is not compromising his passion for the craft, because the movie is going to be apparently entirely in Middle English, which hasn't been spoken for, I believe, 400 years. So like this is something it's going to be releasing with subtitles, like without a doubt. This is not going to be something that you're going to be able to go and just watch without any sort of aid, because no one speaks the language that this movie is in anymore. So that alone to me is like, oh, the dude is still doing what he wants to do. But yeah, I think Werewolf is going to be a lot closer. What I'm expecting, we know that it's the medieval period, so I'm expecting we're just going to get some really traditional folklore on werewolves, similar to what we got with Nosferatu, where it was like so much of what Count Orlok was in that movie feels so weird, but it's because the way that we understand vampires now has shifted so much from what the folklore of them used to be, and Eggers is so obsessed with like being accurate to old school folklore, like he did with The Witch, where, I mean, and he's talked about this being the darkest movie he's ever made by far. And when you think about what happens in the first 15 minutes of The Witch, it's like, okay, so that means we're going to some pretty dark places with this one. So yeah, Werewolf doesn't give me that vibe, and we can talk about Christmas Carol and Labyrinth as well, because that's the other one that we know he's doing. Yeah, but in terms of Werewolf, I think you can rest easy on that one.
Okay. That's I do love the idea of the needing the captions. Full disclosure, I put on the captions for The Witch and for Lighthouse anyways. Okay. Like I needed them, especially because even in The Witch, the use of language is a little bit of a different kind of English that they had done the research on to try to replicate as best they could. So that excites me about Werewolf.
I think what I really enjoy. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
What I really enjoy about that, and the reason that I haven't watched those with subtitles, is because even now, when I go back and revisit the movies, I mean, at this point, I've got it all. But like, there was a time where, like, for years, I would rewatch these movies, and then I would pick up on another line, and then find some new thing because it is such dense language. Often you're trying to really focus, and then you will wind up inadvertently missing things. So when you go around to revisiting it, which for me, who like will rewatch Eggers' entire filmography like twice a year, I'm perfectly fine not catching it all on the first go.
Yeah, it is one of the I mean, being able to pour over these movies more than once it's almost like required. I think that's something that's like, whether it's a good record that you're into or a good film, it is awesome to be able to step into it and be like, oh my gosh, I didn't even notice that wrinkle before.
Well, I think a lot of the time, the first time you watch a movie is like the best time. That has not been the case for me for a single one of his movies. All of them, they've either come out and I've been like The Northman, when that came out, I was like, that was really good. But like The Lighthouse, when that came out, I was disappointed. When I first saw Nosferatu, I was disappointed. Both times because I was expecting something completely different from what he was doing. But I always find that as I revisit them and kind of get deeper into what he's doing with these stories, they always just get richer every time. Like it's a really unique quality to his work, for me at least.
Yeah, maybe I should give Nosferatu another watch, because for me it seems kind of like a single serving, but mostly because we've seen that story so many times. I mean, his is the third version of it.
There is so much to pick up on in that movie, which like it seems like it's less dense than his other ones, but I mean, in some ways it is. In other ways, like the amount of detail that goes into like the histories of these characters and the dynamics between them that you can pick up on as you like continue to kind of reappraise it is really astounding. That's why it's
even Lily Rose Depp's performance.
100%.
Okay.
100%.
Because that was one I struggled with. However, I will say this: Aaron Taylor Johnson, who was kind of spotty for me, depending on the film. Oh my God, he was my favorite performance of Nosferatu. I totally turned around on him as an actor. Like, he blew me away.
The thing that I can say about Lily Rose Depp's performance, I really liked it the first time. I thought she was very good. But I think there are a couple things to keep in mind with it. One is that like the movie is meant to be a fairy tale. So a lot of it does kind of feel like over dramatic in some ways, but it's supposed to feel like it's coming out of a storybook. Like you look at so much of the imagery in there and it feels like that. But also what really helped me, because like the possession scenes get really over the top, but the way I started thinking about it and like looking at those moments was that if you pay attention to what's going on with them, like her ripping her shirt open, these aren't like unmotivated things. Everything that's happening is completely motivated by like this internal spiritual battle over Ellen's agency between her and Orlok, where that's her like trying to take back control while Orlok is in control of her body, scaring Thomas away, and she's literally trying to rip him out of her body to take back that fight. And there's tons of little things like that to me just really enhance it.
Yeah, it sounds like I'll have to give it another rewatch, because some of those I started thinking as I'm sitting there watching the movie, I'm like, feel like I've seen this scene like 3 or 4 times now in the movie, where she's like struggling and Willem Dafoe's saying like she's fighting like Nosferatu, and I'm like, I feel like this has happened like 3 or 4 times.
Sure.
But yeah, I think that on your recommend, I would be into giving it another watch. Now,
nice.
With Nosferatu, how do you feel? Like, I had read that originally he wanted to go a little more like expressionist, like a little more Cabinet of Dr. Caligari with like the sets and everything, like a little more, I don't know how to, just a little more surreal, I suppose. Do you think that's something that we're gonna maybe see something like that in something like Werewolf or something like A Christmas Carol? Do you think he's gonna? I don't know what the motivation was to go a little more like standard with Nosferatu, but when I heard that he was, thinking a little more wild with the visuals, I was like, oh man, that would have been really interesting. Do you think that's, or is that something that's sort of like, as you start making these bigger movies, production companies like Warner Brothers are like, you want to do what now? Like, what are you doing?
I don't think in this case, like, I would be more concerned about that kind of thing if there were signs at this point of him like making compromises on his, like, he has made it very clear that like Nosferatu, he had complete creative control over it. So any sorts of like changes that were made over the time that he was working on it were because he wanted to make those and not because there was studio pressure. The Northman was the only time he had studio pressure. But in terms of like the expressionist stuff, I don't think we'll see that in something like Werewolf. It made sense to consider it for Nosferatu, considering that was, Germany, 1920s expressionist movement was huge at the time. The original Nosferatu, well, it's not like pure German expressionism. It certainly has a lot of those elements, so I can totally see why he would have wanted to lean into that a little further. But no, I mean, Werewolf, we'll have to wait and see more about, but I don't expect it to go in that direction. We do know Jaron Blaschke, the DP that Eggers has worked with forever, has talked about, alluded to the fact that what they're doing visually for Werewolf, he says he believes has never been done before. And I don't know what they mean by that, but I'm very intrigued. And especially just considering the sorts of concepts that I've heard him talk about with like wanting to try to replicate the look of like wet plate photography for a Western or something like that. I'm like, oh, so this dude's thinking like in a really creative way. So I'm certainly curious to see what they do with Werewolf, but I don't expect we'll see something that goes into like the expressionist route just based on what we know is coming up for him and what he's talked about wanting to make after the projects that are already in production.
Yeah, and I guess the burning question with Werewolf is, who's Willem Dafoe going to play in that one?
Well, see, that's the question. he's going to be in it. He's absolutely.
He's got to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, you had mentioned, it sounds like with Labyrinth that you're sort of like, that might be one where you're like, I don't know. Where, like, how do you feel about, where is that fall? Is that going to come after A Christmas Carol? Where's that going to?
That's kind of the vibe I'm getting, but that's probably just wishful thinking. I don't know. We don't actually have any information about what the schedule for any of this stuff is, aside from Werewolf, which we know is shooting later this year. That's, in terms of what he's doing, that's all we know. The reason that I was like more surprised by Labyrinth is just I just wasn't expecting that. Like a medieval werewolf movie made a lot of sense from him, but when he comes out and says he's doing Labyrinth, I'm like, oh, that's very different. But Eggers is also a theater kid, and was a huge theater dork throughout all of his life. Like, he was directing plays before he started directing movies. So when you really think about it, it's not actually that much out of left field. It's just different from what we've seen him do so far in his career. I think that's something that, like, people, like, you saw when The Northman came out, or, like, one of the big criticisms you got is people saying that it didn't feel like a Robert Eggers movie. And it's like, dude, this is his third movie. We don't even know what that means yet.
Yeah.
Like, you got to let someone show different sides to themselves before you try to pigeonhole them into something specific. Yeah, I mean, I'm curious about Labyrinth. I have no idea what to expect from that, and it's certainly not something where I'm like waiting with bated breath to see it. I obviously I will, because he's my favorite director working right now. But yeah, Christmas Carol is what I'm. That's a different story.
Yeah, talk to me about Christmas Carol. I know you. That was something that you kind of spoke into existence. Does Eggers know that you're sort of like, you're working behind the scenes, like making sure that the universe gives him what he wants?
Yeah, I've done this a couple, and it's not just with movies. It's happened with music, where like every time one of my favorite artists releases an album, it's like extremely serendipitous with what's going on at the time, and like eerie. There's like 7 different circumstances where like, that's weird that came out on that day.
Wow.
But like Werewolf, I was on a podcast with Dylan and Luke from Splattercast and Jake, Killjoy Jake, and we were talking about Wolfman, the newer one, and then we were talking about what we wanted from a werewolf movie, and I was like, what I want is something like what Robert Eggers did with The Witch. 3 days later, they announced Werewolf. And now since Nosferatu came out, because a lot of the imagery in this movie is kind of Dickens adjacent, and was reminding me of my favorite Christmas Carol adaptation, which is the 1951 version with Alistair Sim.
That's great.
It's like one of my favorite movies of all time.
Yeah.
So like I just thought there was a lot of imagery in Nosferatu that aligned with that, especially because the movie takes place around Christmas and you can see like Christmas trees in the background. I'm like, oh, these are very like traditional looking, like there's care put into this, and I love the visual style. So since Nosferatu came out, I had been saying nonstop that like my dream movie. I was like, man, if I ever got the chance to like talk to Robert Eggers and try to put the worm in his ear, just Willem Dafoe as Scrooge, Christmas Carol. That would be like my dream movie. And then boom, he announced it recently, and I have never had such a visceral reaction to a movie announcement in my entire life. I am like, this is the most excited for a movie. I didn't think I
Shot
could be
through
more,
you like a drug.
Yeah, I didn't think I could be more excited for a movie than I was for Nosferatu. But then there you go, Christmas Carol.
Yeah,
it's just like, I don't know. It seems perfect to me.
Yeah, it's like the original. I mean, yeah, Christmas Carol is. It's almost like the original Christmas horror kind of movie too,
Sure.
right? It's like, or horror story, I guess.
Sure.
Like it is. There's that element there, so it's really interesting that one of the most classic Christmas tales that we know, throughout the world has got that horror tinge for sure.
Well, a lot of Victorian Christmas stories were ghost stories. Like when people would gather around on Christmas Eve, one of the big traditions for them in that period of time was to tell ghost stories. So it makes sense, and I love absolutely. I have like a whole book on Victorian Christmas stories. I adore that kind of stuff, and I think especially with Eggers mentioning when Nosferatu was coming out that The Innocents is maybe his favorite ghost movie of all time. That just makes me even more excited because the atmosphere of the... Have you ever seen The Innocents?
No, I haven't.
It's a Jack Clayton movie from 1961. Same DP who did a lot of work with like Hammer horror, so you get that style, but like it's absolutely incredible. It's one of those things where like sometimes you watch a movie from, the 60s or before that or whatever era you want to bring up. By the way, just for Illuminated Pro, there's so much confusion about this because there's so many movies that have very similar titles. It's not The Innocents, it's The Innocents with a T.
Oh, multiple
like
people
plural.
that are innocent.
Yeah, there's so many different movies that are like, they sound really similar. The Innocents. Yeah, one of David Lynch's favorite films. Totally makes sense. That movie is really haunting, and like as I was saying, you go back to watch something and sometimes you're like, I wasn't expecting to have a reaction like this. And there is one scene in The Innocents that, okay, we're talking about the same one, cool. There's one scene in that movie that had that effect on me where like I was genuinely scared by it, and I thought that was just like really exciting, and the tone of that too, just with him talking about that being his favorite ghost movie, and then tackling like a Victorian Christmas ghost story, which is to me like perfect, and with a property that I already have a huge soft spot with. Like this just to me felt like a perfect match, which I think is why I was excited to come onto this the show when you brought up the discussion topic, because for me, I would be concerned about what you're mentioning with him being co-opted by Hollywood. Is the things that were getting announced that didn't seem like things that he would pursue, and I don't think that either of the or any of the announcements that we have so far indicate that at all. This seems like perfectly in line.
And that's sort of and that's why I wanted to have the discussion, because it is sort of like. Sometimes as fans, we can be like the fans that are going to be rah cheerleaders, like no matter what. And then there's us like weird fans, like I can be sometimes, where we get like selfish and spoiled, and like we want them to like do something else. But at the same time, again, I mean, all power to him, because he's put together this amazing career. So I am nobody to be like, Robert Eggers, how dare you do like this movie or that movie? None of my business at all. But yeah, it's just to have that discussion with somebody, such as yourself is, I think just a fun topic to touch on, because, like you said, we are still figuring out who he is as a filmmaker. I mean, for all we know, sometimes, at the beginning of your career, even if they are projects that you want to do, maybe you bank some that are like a little more dependable, or a little like,
Yep.
that you've got something with them, and then you've built a career for yourself, and you can kind of get weirder later, or build your own production company later and kind of be your own boss. And it seems like Eggers is kind of doing both at the same time here, right?
Yep. Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking, because it sounds like Werewolf is going to be really indulgent and historical and dark and experimental and messed up, and then we're getting Christmas Carol.
Yeah.
And I'm sure he's going to like toy with it. Although I also expected more toying with Nosferatu, and I was wrong about that. I think that he's just very drawn to a lot of classic literature, and I wouldn't be surprised if he wants to do a pretty faithful adaptation of Christmas Carol, albeit very gothic and atmospheric and in line.
Yeah. I hope it's got a similar. I liked the, Nosferatu is mostly black and white with like, muted blues and oranges. You know what I mean? Like the color was done very subtly, and I hope with
filtering out red light from reaching the lens for the nighttime scenes. Like, it's not like they were going in color grading and like turning up blue light or something. Like they were literally stopping any red light from getting into the lens to get that really
it's
blue look.
Yeah, it's got a great look, and I hope that with something like A Christmas Carol, we can, find something pretty close to that. And maybe, with Labyrinth, Labyrinth has a little bit of that darkness, almost like Return to Oz, kind of weird, like, is this a kid's movie? But it's also whimsical. So it would be cool to see how he works, because we haven't seen too much whimsy in his movies.
No.
It would be fun to kind of see like how somebody like, Robert Eggers approaches that.
Sure.
To just show off another different, like, kind of, flavor of what he can do there.
Yeah. And I know that he's probably drawn to that stuff because like him and Astor are like really good friends. And I think Astor, especially if you look at something like Beau is Afraid, does lean into that sort of whimsy quite a bit more than Eggers has so far. So that's definitely something that's there for him.
Yeah, and then, on the flip side of like, one of the things I wanted to make sure to mention while we're talking about this topic is you've got somebody like another name that comes to mind, especially somebody that's, had great success, especially, recently, is someone like Ryan Coogler, who seems to be going into more of like the, Sinners is such a, original idea. I mean, I know a lot of people are like, it's from dusk till dawn, but I'm like, oh, just the one little tiny aspect, like, stop,
sure.
You can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. But we got that kind of flip side of where he sort of, not saying that Black Panther is like mainstream or anything like that, but going into the Creed movies, dipping into a property that we were sort of familiar with, adjacent with Rocky, but then doing something wild like Sinners, which is, I mean, not only is it, is it successful with fans and critics and everything, but it's been wildly successful as far as the box office goes. And I think it's, that's just one of those, these guys are sort of taking two different paths, but they're both, seemingly finding great success and are able to satisfy their own, creative urges here.
Yeah, totally.
That's all you got. That's all you got for Sinners. No.
Yeah, no. I mean,
I'm just messing with you.
Awesome. Yeah, it's something I need to rewatch it. I thought it was incredible. I had a blast. Like, my brother and I went to see that, and I hadn't looked at a trailer or read the plot synopsis. All I knew was that there were vampires in it, and I thought it was fantastic because it's one of those movies where like it can be enjoyed on the surface level of like, oh, it's a fun bloody vampire movie. You can enjoy it from that perspective, but there is so much to chew on in that story, and I thought they dealt with it brilliantly. I got a lot of it wrong in my initial review for it because there's a lot of history that I'm not overly familiar with. In terms, part of where I messed up was that my family is Irish. Like, my dad emigrated from Ireland in the 60s into Canada. So I was basing a lot of my perspective on the Irish culture portrayed in that movie on Irish people in Canada in a different time period. So I messed some things up there, but
no, it was a great review. It was an awesome review, and I think especially for only having seen it once, like, very thorough. And I think that was done really deliberately with something like Sinners, where they wanted to showcase like the Irish side of it, because that was a group that felt like they were sort of taken over and ousted from
Yep.
or pushed away from their homeland, as it were.
Totally.
And I loved the vampires were so seductive, but seductive with like their way of life. It was a nice little, a different kind of seductive than we're used to seeing.
You can see the romance in their
vampires.
eyes. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's
cool.
damn near a rock opera. I would not be surprised if within the next 10 years there is a stage version of Sinners that is a full-on musical.
True.
I would not be
Could
surprised. It sure damn could. Did you notice are they crows or ravens or vultures? Did you notice the vultures show up every time the white people show up?
No, I didn't.
That's like the first time I watched it, I was like, I think these vultures are showing up, and they seem to match the amount of white people that were there. I was like,
oh man, I
I
need to give it another watch.
Definitely
awesome.
worth a rewatch for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Ooh. I guess I'm still going through changes as my voice cracks here.
It happens. It's part of the benefits of recording. I can cut all that out.
Yeah. This is what I deal with going live, is I get the sweats and my voice cracks.
Take the blazer off, dude.
I know, I'm just dedicated to the craft. What can I say?
Oh, fair enough.
The things we do for our audiences. Speaking of audience, to talk about you and what you've got going on, I saw you recently had played your very first live show.
Yes, I did.
But you've been playing music for a while. What was that experience like, getting out there and putting everything on display?
It was really cool. It was cathartic, because I have I have like a ton of songs that I've just been like sitting on for way too long, stalling on recording them. So my brother was playing, because he plays a fair bit of local shows, and he was I was mentioning to him, like, yeah, if you ever have something, like, let me know. I'd come in, and he invited me to this show, and I finally got to get some of those songs out of my studio and let people hear them. So it was really fun. It was cool. I was surprised that I wasn't overly nervous going up, but I think it's just because I'm used to being on a stage of sorts, just being on the internet all the time, right? But yeah, no, it was. I really, really enjoyed it. I definitely want to play some more live shows.
Now, are you currently recording right now?
No, I should be, but no.
But you have your Nosferatu video that you're putting, your hour-and-a-half Nosferatu opus.
Yep. Well, those are for work, right? I got to pay the bills.
Yeah.
So there's motivation
for sure.
there. And then generally, like, when I'm done work, I don't want to be going back into software and like edit, like EQing stuff and compressing, because like I'm already working with editing software constantly. So I don't know. I need to get around to it at some point, maybe once I'm through it, because I also have a Midsummer video that I'm working on that's also really long. So it's just there's just too many big projects right now. But eventually, my main focus right now is just writing. Like, I'm working on a novel and a couple screenplays. Like, I'm just really focused on that stuff.
Hell yeah. Now, are you still working on, the last time you were on the show, you were working on, I don't know if it was a full novel or like a novella, but you were writing music to accompany that piece? Or is that something that you still got in the works?
Oh God, I don't even.
Or was it a play? Or no, it was a novel, I believe, that you were writing music for?
I did write music for a play, yes.
Okay.
Was it really that long ago that we talked last?
Was it August? August or September?
I did write music for a play, yes. It feels like it was longer ago than that, but I don't know, I might be mistaken. But yeah, no, I mean, I'm still working on the novel. I haven't been writing any music alongside it, so I'm assuming it's the play. I must just have my timelines in my head messed up. But yeah, no, I'm still working on all that stuff and loving doing it. Like, writing is like my favorite thing to do. Like, YouTube's awesome. Ideally, eventually, I want to be just telling my own stories, I think.
Yeah. One, I think that's one of the things that makes your channel so great, is that, it's a YouTube channel, but when you're writing these, awesome scripts for your deep dives, like that's got to kind of scratch that itch, to a certain degree, I would imagine.
Yeah, sure. It's
And I
definitely more
mean,
satisfying to just like dive into my own stories instead of just talk about other people's. But
mm,
yeah, it certainly gets there, especially if I'm talking about something that I'm like passionate about. Like the Nosferatu script was like 17,000 words, but it was not a slog to work on because I love the movie, right? So
yeah. Now, I would imagine you're going to be, I mentioned when I was, rolling out the longest red carpet for you there before we brought you on, that you should probably be making your own movies and you're writing screenplays now. Do you have, um, do you have those aspirations to dive into the,
yeah,
the kind of behind the camera side of
yep.
filmmaking, to move from the writing to that?
Yeah, I mean that is my goal ultimately, is to either just be a writer or get into like making my own movies, writer, director, or whatever. My cousin has been getting really into photography and cinematography recently, and he mentioned wanting to shoot a short film, and I was like, I just wrote 4 short films. I can send them over to you, and he looked them over and he picked one, and we're gonna try and shoot it this summer. So we're starting off with something.
Hell yeah, man. That
But
is
yeah, that
awesome.
ultimately that is. Do you have the same sort of thing? Like I feel like for most people who are like doing this, that's got to be
Yeah.
there to some degree.
Yeah, for sure. I've got, my buddy Cecil Laird over at the Horror Show channel. They're just out here on the other side of the valley
Oh
in
yeah.
the Phoenix area. He made that Dylan's New Nightmare fan film. I'm not sure if you've checked
Oh
that
yeah.
out. It's
Yeah, yeah,
a
sure.
Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah.
And so I've recently joined the team over there. They invited me to like become a member. So the next time that they're making a movie, I would love to play whatever role I can as far
That's
as
awesome.
helping with the production and everything like that. And I've got a kind of like a George Romero style zombie story that I'm working on that takes
Mm.
place I grew up in Juneau, Alaska, which is an isolated, landlocked town.
My dog
So
is
I was
named
like,
after Juneau, Alaska. She's an Alaskan Shepherd. We named her Juneau.
oh, nice. I love
There
it.
you go.
Dude, it
Yeah.
was amazing growing up there. I'm sure that you can, with where you are out there, like so far east in Canada, I'm sure,
Sure.
we could probably trade stories about how sometimes it could be so boring, but also you're so damn
Certainly.
grateful
Yeah.
for like the tiny place that you live
Yep.
in. Um, and so I just thought, how interesting would it be, even if a zombie apocalypse happened, this place could kind of shut itself down and be relatively normal. But what would happen 5 years later when the Walking Dead finally get there?
Yeah. True.
So
Yeah.
it's
No,
it's
that's
it's a
fair.
little bit of a Jaws meets, you know, Day of the Dead or something like
Well,
that. I don't know, but
in World War Z, where Brad Pitt brings everyone to, that's where I live. So I'm safe.
oh really?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they even in one of it's the Resident Evil Extinction. Is that the one that's in Vegas? They show a
I don't know.
picture, and I swear it's like Ketchikan, Alaska, which is very
There
similar to
you go.
Juneau. It's just
Yeah,
very
yeah.
similar
Sure.
spot. So so yeah, I suppose we do all kind of have those aspirations. I mean, the one thing that's great about what you're doing is, you're able to kind of be your own boss right now. Like you don't have to worry about being co-opted by Hollywood. You know.
No, I'm all good. I'm fine. Yeah,
Now,
luckily.
hell yeah. What do you get? You've got the Nosferatu video coming out. That I would imagine that's
Hmm.
going to hit next week on your channel.
Yes. Yeah. I just
All
had to
right,
think about it for a second. Yes, it'll be late next week.
late next week, and then you're working on your first short film this summer. That is
Yeah.
exciting, man.
Yeah, I'm excited. There's a couple. There's one that I wrote knowing that I wouldn't be able to do it, but it's the one that I really want to do. And actually, funnily enough, it was inspired by A Christmas Carol, and it's like a Victorian ghost story taking place on Christmas Eve. But it was like that was the one I wanted to do. But it's like, well, we can't exactly construct a Victorian backlot to make this, but it's cool to write nonetheless. So what I do for
Yeah,
those, like for my short film scripts that I can't make, I just like throw them on the Patreon or whatever, just to be like, well, at least I can get it out in some
yeah.
fashion. Yeah.
Well, hey, I just to let you know, if you ever need any effects work or any fun stuff like that, my brother does 3D matte painting. He's been doing it for years, and
No
he
way.
also works in Unreal Engine and is able to build environments and move the camera throughout. So
Damn.
limitations be damned. You can
Yeah.
always reach out to me, or I can shoot you his info if you just want to pick his brain or have a conversation about any of that kind of stuff as you move along. I mean, it's really cool, like, you know, with what we've seen. So what, Chris Stuckman's got a movie coming out this October. The Filippo brothers are friggin' killing it, dude. I mean,
that's why I'm like, I'm kind of under pressure right now. I'm like, man, do I need to like hurry on this and ride this wave of YouTuber movies?
Well, it's really cool to see that it's, you know, that it's adding legitimacy to folks that want to make that transition from YouTube content creator to filmmaker.
I mean, Stuckman's movie got its budget doubled by Neon. Like they brought him back for like, because there was a bunch of stuff. They read the screenplay and they're like, why isn't this in the movie? And it was like, oh, because we couldn't afford to do it. And they're like, do you want to do it? And it was like, well, yeah. So they just got like a shit ton more money, and they got to go back and redo some stuff and add some stuff. So I mean, that's awesome. Yeah,
I'm looking forward to that. I love Talk to Me. I was a little cooler on Bring Her Back, but it was still an amazing, you know, a really well done film. I think the story didn't resonate with me the way Talk to Me did.
You can feel the French extremity inspiration coming in on that one.
Oh my gosh, it was tough. I have a tough time with teeth stuff. Yeah, really.
My girlfriend walked out of the movie like halfway through. She was having a hard time.
Yeah, there's a couple times where I'm just like, ooh, and I try to be whatever. I can sit there and watch Terrifier and be like, ha 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 ha.
Yeah,
but when I see stuff with teeth,
yeah, no, Terrifier's goofy. It's so over the top. Like, there's movies that are like way less good. Like, have you seen Speak No Evil?
I haven't seen either version of that.
Oh, okay, well, I won't.
I know.
I won't say anything.
I'm terrible.
No,
but I've heard. I mean, I hear all that stuff about it though. That those are very difficult movies.
The point that I was making anyway was that like you can have things that like aren't very brutal that are way more disturbing than like the most brutal kills. It just depends on the presentation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and everyone kind of has their own things, right? I know some people are like, I can't watch a needle go into somebody. You know, I've got a thing with like teeth and nails.
Yeah,
I don't know what it is.
Yeah, nails is worse for me. Than like teeth is still pretty bad.
There's that. Have you seen Stir of Echoes? That old Kevin Bacon '90s movie.
No, I keep meaning to though.
It's pretty fun, and there's some nail stuff in there that's you know, cringeworthy in the best possible way.
I always get these "you're making me feel old" comments when I say stuff like this, but being 23 when Evil Dead 2013 came out, I was 12, like 11 turning 12. So I remember seeing that, and like to this day, if someone has an X-Acto knife out around me, I like recoil. Like I unconsciously, I don't like them. I really don't like them because of that scene from Evil Dead.
Yeah, man, that movie. I'm such a huge fan of the franchise, and that movie completely blew my socks off.
That whole franchise. There's not a bad movie in that franchise.
No,
I think they're all just so good.
And it seems like, and I'm, you know, guys, I know we're off of the co-opting Hollywood topic at this point, but you know, we're talking Evil Dead, so it's going to happen. It seems like Evil Dead is one of those. I guess maybe this ties in a little bit because, you know, Sam Raimi, Rob Tappert, and Bruce Campbell still have control of that property. And how cool is that those guys are still like, they're the ones picking the talent that gets to make these movies now, to where it's not just a boardroom or whatever. Like we're getting 2 Evil Dead movies within the next like 2 to 3 years.
Yeah,
and that's a franchise that can take place like any continent, anytime.
There's so much potential.
You know? Yeah, so much
like
damn
infinite
potential.
Possibilities they can do with that. I'm very excited. I know Alex from Beyond the Void horror podcast, who you should subscribe to, brought up an amazing theory for Evil Dead Burn. That I'm like, man, I would love for them to do this, where it was like in a massive forest fire and people having to like deal with deadites while trying to escape being in like the heart of something like that. It's like that would be so cool.
That would be, oh wow.
He watches so many, like he's seen more movies than anyone else I know, so like the connections that his brain can make are like really nice. Like he'll come up with these like, what if this movie did this? And I'm like, bro, I want that to happen now.
Yeah, like firemen go to put the fire out, and you end up getting like a Halloween Kills kind of deadite scene with the firemen. So I had an idea for Evil Dead Burn. What I think would be really cool is if it took place during like the Salem witch hunt
Oh my
era
God! See, I
of
like
New
that
England.
too.
And it's like, and it's really the church that's playing with the book, trying to figure it out. They unwittingly awake the demons that then possess the young women. And then the church is
Mm,
trying to cover up their involvement by saying like, oh, they're just like, they're witches. We need to kill these
mm.
witches.
All right, so don't sell yourself short because you are a writer, my friend.
There we go. I'll reach out to, I'll be like, I know you guys already have Evil Dead Burn, but what about
There
Evil
you
Dead
go.
Burn 2?
Yeah, it's coming out next summer, so make sure you hop on that.
Or an old Western Evil Dead that just takes place within
That
like
would be
24
sick.
hours. You know,
Western
lone man
Eggers
comes
is
to
talking about
town.
doing a Western. So there you go.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the one.
And I would pick Quentin Tarantino to direct my Evil Dead film. I'm sure he'd say yes. Right?
Of course.
Why the
Yeah.
heck not?
Yeah.
Oh my
Has
goodness.
he only done one movie that he didn't write? Like directed? I think he's only directed one that he didn't write, or maybe two.
Which ones did he not write?
I don't think he wrote. Didn't he direct From Dusk Till Dawn, or am I misremembering that?
He helped write it with Robert Rodriguez, but Rodriguez directed it. And then he wrote
Okay, so I'm mixing that
True he wrote True Romance that Tony Scott directed.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm mixing up then that he's written movies for other people.
But he also, I guess, like he said that he wouldn't count if like when he was like talking about doing a Star Trek movie, he was like, that wouldn't count as one of my like 10 movies because it's not like one of my babies.
Sure.
So if he did something that was outside of his own, you know, work, I don't know. I'd love to see somebody like him do an Evil Dead film. I think it would be friggin'
So
awesome.
wacky. You get that last 15 minutes of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the dude can definitely do it.
Yeah, no, he's got the chops for sure,
Yeah.
and I know he's a fan of that kind of stuff. So it's like, you know, to see him do something that would step into Deadites or zombies or anything like that would be a hell of a time.
Sure.
Forest Fire plus Deadites. Jamie loves it. She's a big Evil Dead fan.
So see, I'm telling you, Alex is hitting the nail on the head.
Evil Dead in Winter
would be awesome. Yeah, I'm always a fan
Yeah.
of winter horror. I want more of it.
Hmm.
Snowy horror is fantastic.
That would be that. My zombie story would be Dead Winter. It would be in the snow.
There you go.
In the
I love
snow.
it.
And be able to, it would, you know, work in some of the, like the native culture that's up there in Southeast Alaska as well. And of
Sure.
course, the government being too controlling. It's basically Day of the Dead in the snow.
Sure, yeah.
I'm such a fan for that one. I'm a Day of the Dead stan.
Totally.
Awesome, man. Well, let's see here. We're at about an hour. It seems like we've got our discussion pretty well capped off.
Yeah.
You were able to kind of calm me down from everything.
Yeah, I don't think there's
appreciate
much
that.
reason to be concerned. I think Werewolf is going to be the kind of thing you're looking for, and I don't think that the other things that he's working on are things that were like thrown on him or that he wouldn't seek out. So I think we're all good. I don't think there's any cause for concern just yet.
Okay. I know, guys. I can get really up on this kind of stuff, and I can get. You know what I think it is, Evan? Is I think what the Friday the 13th people have been doing has just been really jerking me around emotionally lately, and I
It's
just get
so
worried about
shitty.
everything now. There's
And
been what?
they even like amped up. They're like, tomorrow there's a big announcement coming. We're like, they haven't said this yet. They haven't amped us up for anything. And it's Friday the 13th, and then it was like nothing.
We're putting out a toy.
They didn't even show what they were. It was just like, they are making toys, just by the way. It's like, oh, NECA
Yeah.
is making toys. Wow.
Yeah, and a haunted house. Ooh.
I'm shocked.
There's been, so you're 23 years old. There's been
Yep.
one Friday the 13th movie in your lifetime.
Yeah, and I was a
That is
kid.
fucking criminal.
Like, I didn't
That
see
is
it when it came
criminal.
out. I was a child. I remember seeing like the DVD cover at Blockbuster, and I was like, that's scary as shit. But
Yeah.
no,
Well, even the Crystal Lake people, like, I'm happy that they're finally in production, sure, but they're sort of pissing me off because I'm like, you can't even give me a logo? Like, this guy,
I know.
you hired the showrunner 9 months ago, and we can't even get like a picture of the sign dropped on Jason's birthday. Like,
I also
what are
think
we
the new
doing?
Jason design looks terrible.
Yes.
Like, really bad.
When they're like horror effects master Greg Nicotero, I'm like, you mean he typed it in the AI? Is that what happened?
Yeah, it
Like-
looked really bad. I don't know.
Well, I've brought this up a couple times on the channel. Let us not forget, everyone, that Nicotero worked on that powder white alien mask from H2O that they had to try to
Did he
erase
really?
from the film. Yeah, that's a
I
K and
did
B
not
mask.
know that. I haven't
So
seen those, like the whole franchise, in a couple years, and I have decided that starting the first week of July, I'll be watching one Halloween movie every week, so that by the time I'm done, the week that I finish Halloween Ends will be the week right before October starts. So I'm
there you go.
extending Halloween out this year.
Yeah, I know. That's if I talk about Halloween, I know I have to like record those videos in July just so I have them ready because October's
Yeah,
friggin' nuts.
I want to try to prep, like, my schedule doesn't change. Like, I upload once a week, and that's just what I do. But like, I want to try and get things done. What I'm trying to do right now is like have videos banked so that like I can take the week of Christmas off or something like that, because I just haven't been doing that. So you got to plan things. I'm still getting accustomed to
you
it.
sure do. Well, and it'll be cool to see, like, I don't know do you know what you're planning on doing after you watch all these? Are you going to kind of do a franchise retrospective
No,
or
I'm
something
just
like
rewatching
that?
them for myself. I'm not
Just for
planning
fun.
any content on it. Yeah, no. No, I don't have any Halloween franchise stuff planned out at the moment. Which, I mean, I probably should. Like, I already have all of my 2026 tentatively scheduled out, right? So
Yeah.
I don't know. Eventually, I want to cover more, because like I did the original very early on in the channel, and I've done the David Gordon Green trilogy.
Sure.
But I'd like to do the whole thing, and I want to revisit some of those videos because they were really early on in the channel, and I don't know, they're not great, so it'd be good to go back and kind of tackle them again.
Well, and it'll be cool to see. I guess I'm just curious. I don't know how much or how many times you've watched those movies, but I always find like it's almost like we were saying at the beginning of our conversation, like the more you watch movies, the more you see these layers. And it's so interesting. Like it's almost every time I revisit the Halloween movies, because that's my favorite slasher franchise.
Same.
I feel differently about them, or they kind of move around, or I'm like, wow, I like Curse of Michael Myers more and more every time I watch it. And I like part 4 less, even though that seems to be a fan favorite. That mask just drives me nuts. So I'd just be curious to know, like, how that, what that experience provides you as like a fan and an audience member would be interesting to hear.
Yeah, I don't know if the like thesis statement of any of the videos that I made on them would change. Like, I think at the core, I still feel pretty much the same way about them as I did at the time. But like from release, like Halloween Kills was, I really didn't like it when it first came out. I was really disappointed in that movie, and now it's probably my favorite sequel in the whole franchise. Like I just, I love Halloween Kills. I think it's got like, it has all of the good and bad of the Halloween franchise in one movie.
Yes.
And I will stand by the complaints about the mob. To me, are so goofy because mobs are supposed to be stupid. That's the whole point.
Yes.
It's mob mentality.
Yes.
They're dumb. They chant stupid things and they make dumb mistakes and they don't pay attention and they follow the herd and people get hurt. And I thought that was cool. But
people people get hung up on Evil Dies Tonight. They just get hung up on that.
But that's what happens.
Yeah.
I thought it was good. And then this is silly because, like, I don't know, I need to stop looking at comments as much as I do. But like When Evil Lurks, I criticize the character decisions a lot in When Evil Lurks. And then I have boats of comments defending the decision making in When Evil Lurks. I'm like, why does this movie get a pass because people like don't listen to medical advice, but Halloween Kills doesn't get a pass when it's dealing with mob mentality? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I think sometimes too people just like glom on to they just regurgitate. Again, it's just mob mentality, but on the internet. They just regurgitate things they've heard other people say about a movie. Because they had some feeling where like, yeah, I didn't like that either. But, I know what you mean. Like, I think Halloween Kills, it's got some of the highest highs. And then there's certain things in the script where I'm like, man, I wish Tommy was like just written a little bit better.
Yeah,
but
totally.
like,
and I mean, like we were talking about this a little while ago. Like, none of these movies are perfect.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even, like, I adore the original with all of my heart. I would not call it a perfect movie. I mean, like Nancy Loomis's performance alone is enough to say that it's not a perfect movie. But that doesn't
It is.
change the fact that we love them and they're awesome, and that's never going to change.
Yeah.
Like, I love this franchise with all of my heart, and I can't wait to go through all of them again because it's been a while.
Yeah. Kills for me, similar to you. I was sort of like, I was like, oh man, I was hoping it would just gonna be, balls to the wall the whole
I thought it was
time.
gonna be darker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it reaches those moments for sure. But then, yeah, the more I've watched them, all three of the David Gordon Green movies are in my top 5, and I think Ends is my
Same.
favorite sequel.
I bounce between Kills and Ends. Out of the franchise or in that trilogy?
Just out of the whole franchise, I would say Ends is probably my favorite sequel.
I was there for a little while as well, and it still happens every once in a while. Like, Ends got lambasted and is at the bottom of a lot of people's lists. I think that is a really great Halloween movie and feels the most like a Carpenter film. It really feels like something Carpenter would have done. Like back in the 80s.
Yeah, and we were chatting about this, offline, and it's like, I noticed most of the people that hate on Ends have only seen it once.
Yeah.
So it's like, not that you have to go see a movie multiple times if you don't like it, folks, but maybe there is some value in revisiting something and seeing if you see something different, the next time around, for sure.
That's why when I'm working on videos, I always will watch it once and then watch it again to take notes. Like, I won't take notes my first time around because I'm like, I need to soak it in first, and then I can sit with it and revisit.
Yeah. I mean, you treat it like you come at it from a total academic standpoint. I think that's why your videos have that sort of like, it's like a symposium. Like, oh, I'm getting some education here.
And it doesn't even feel academic to me. Like, when people like refer to my videos as like reviews or like call like me a film critic, none of that feels right to me. Like, I'm like, I don't think there's anything like even necessarily smart about what I'm doing. It's literally just me geeking out. Like, whether I like the movie or not, I'm such a nerd for the craft of filmmaking, and I just like talking about why something worked. Like, I don't feel like I'm doing I don't know.
That's why it feels like a college course to me, because I'm a big when I went to college, it was literature heavy, and I just think of film as just another it's the visual version of literature. Totally. And the way that literature classes went in college was usually the teacher picking a handful of stories or books and nerding out about them and showing you their passion and what they see in it and what other people have seen in it. So that's what I pick up from the essays that you do. Yeah, I wouldn't even necessarily think of them as reviews, really.
No, I never call them reviews, because it doesn't feel like that to me at all. And if I wasn't making these videos, like, my brother and I have these discussions out on the back deck, which sound the same as my videos do. So like, I would still be geeking out whether it was online or just in person. This just gives me an outlet to do it more often.
I'm the same way. My brother that works in the industry, like, we just like I'll try to make anyone talk to me about movies, but at least with him, I know we can actually nerd out. I don't feel it bad.
And my brother and I have like really similar tastes. We're like, we were just recently watching Faust. You ever seen Faust?
No.
Like the sort of expressionist era. This was 1926, 4 years after Murnau made Nosferatu. He made Faust, which is based off a German folk tale. And I was blown away by it. And it's like, that's one of those movies where like, I'm going to watch it. And it's like, I could do a video on it at some point, but I have to sandwich it between videos that people are actually going to want to watch, because that's not going to do well. It's a silent film from the 20s.
That's like the classic tale of the guy that makes the deal with the devil.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's a brilliant, like, I was blown away. There's some things in that movie where I'm like, I don't know how they did this in 1926.
I love that.
But it's like, who else am I going to talk to this about other than my brother, who has the exact same taste as I do?
Email Robert Eggers.
There you go.
Big time fan here.
We'd love to talk some German expressionism with you.
There you go. I don't know if you know this, but I've had a hand in deciding a couple of the films that you are going to make.
Yes.
And I think you should tackle Faust sometime.
Well, don't tell anyone, but that's what I want to do someday. So
okay, there we go. All right. I'll cut that out of the replay.
I'm actually, it's not something that like I think will happen, but I am writing a screenplay. of like
Sweet,
a
man.
Faust
Hell yeah.
reimagining. Because
Hell yeah.
as I was watching it, I was like, there's so much that I want to do with this story. It's such a great tale. But
That's awesome when something kind of sparks that, like when you watch something or listen to a song or whatever, and you're like, oh, I just want to put my own spin on this, or like
yeah,
my
totally.
own little,
Yep.
Have you seen I think it's 1931, it might be 32, the Frederick March version of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde? Have you seen that
No, I
one?
haven't yet.
That one's really fun and a really, I would say, a good recommend as far as like seeing visual effects done, where you're like, how did they do that? Because
Yeah.
they do these seamless makeup effects by it sounds like something similar to what you were saying that they did in Nosferatu with
I
removing
think I
the
know
red
what you're
light
doing. Yeah.
filters. Yeah, so
they
they're
did that
pulling
for.
filters away.
Is it? There's something like Eek and Octopus or something like that, in a very old film where they did something like that, where they managed to make a woman's face change like that because they removed a filter from the camera, and it looked really scary.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, they do it a few times with his Dr. Jekyll transformation, where you're just like, watching that in modern times, you're like, how did they do that?
Well, they did that for the end of The Lighthouse as well, when he's got his hand in the thing. The blood was disappearing from his face, and they were doing that by increasing, I believe it was increasing or decreasing the red light in the room. I think it was increasing it so that the blood would show less on the back of the film. Yeah.
I love those old tricks.
Awesome.
I think there's always a place for that kind of stuff,
And
it's
that's
like
one thing that's great about him, is that he's really set on doing like all of the scenes in Transylvania and Nosferatu were done with just firelight, and like if they needed more light sources, they would use mirrors to bounce it around and kind of accentuate
very
it, which
cool.
is just like, it's so cool to see that kind of stuff. And it look like it really does make a difference. Like the texture of those scenes in Transylvania, I don't think could be done if you were using artificial lighting.
Yeah, and I think sometimes it's like that the limitations is what kind of spurns those creative juices.
Totally.
You put yourself in, you give yourself limitations, or you just end up finding them when you're, out shooting, and then it ends up, becomes another layer of the creativity. It's got really cool stuff. Hell yeah, man. Well, this has been awesome chatting with you. I don't want to take up all your time. I know you've got a couple novels to work on, a couple screenplays, and some music to rehearse so you can record your first hit record.
Yeah. Well, I actually have to go do some editing right now, and then
there we go.
Finish up some chunks of the Nosferatu video.
When does that Nosferatu video drop? What day next week?
It's either going to be the 26th or the 27th.
All right.
It just depends, because I need 7 days to process copyright claims, because I get them on every video.
Yeah.
So it's like I finish it, and then there's a week-long buffer. But it has to be out by the end of the month, because there's a sponsor on it, and I'm contractually obligated to have it out by the end of the month.
Good problems to have, I would say.
Yeah.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Guys, if you're not subscribed to ROCKLIN Graves Productions already, I don't know what you're doing. Go on over there, throw him a sub. Evan's channel is awesome. It is like you can, go through, find like one of your favorite movies, especially if it's a more recent kind of, horror tinged film, and you can find a really great video essay that will, give you even more insight and, unveil some things that you hadn't noticed before. So highly recommend, what Evan's got going on over there. Links are in the description below, also pinned in the chat for the channel. And then I would imagine once you get your music up and running, you'll probably have a separate channel for that or something like that. Yeah.
I've thought about what I want to do with that, because I used to do like covers on YouTube, so there is still a channel, but I'm like, do I want to expose that channel to over 100,000 people now? And I don't know if I do, so I may start something else. Yeah,
you just get to rebrand it. Rebrand it.
Exactly.
Hell yeah. That's going to do it for this edition of Late Night with the Davey Before Dark. And guys, make sure you got some clean undies, folks, because I'm going low with the voice. Guys, I will be back later on tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern. We're going to watch Jason Lives, and I think I'm going to have some guests joining me for that one. So we'll see who rolls on in. But yeah, thank you so much, Evan. Really appreciate your time and the discussion.
This is awesome.
Yeah, for sure, man. Let's make it not 10 months before we talk again about
Works
it.
for me.
I'll reach out to you in the middle of the night again sometime.
Go
Guys,
for it.
it's crazy. Sometimes when I reach out to people in the middle of the night, I feel guilty about it, but then it actually turns into something awesome like this stream. So what can you do?
Sure.
All right, y'all.
Yeah.
He has been Evan from ROCKLIN Graves Productions, and I have been and will continue being Davey Deathray. Take care, y'all.